Welcome in, everyone. This is our unusual Whales notable flow alerts recap for the week of 6/15 to 6/18. It's a little shorter video this week. Obviously, we're off today for Juneteenth. Market's closed, so we only have kind of 4 days of flow alerts here. If you're new to joining us here, what we do is recap the flow that I pulled from the week and just kind of see how it performed here. I will typically count anything over 10% at least as a break even. Should be a small win there. So we'll kind of look at some of the flow on some of the really good movers, just kind of see how it looked and all that as well here. And I went ahead and I typically always just pull the flow just so I have it all on the watch list here. So it will be everything that we're going to cover. You can ignore the PRKB. This is going to be a special video here, but everything here and the GME you can ignore there at the end as well too. But from C all the way down to ALLT here, we're going to cover through these here. We had some really outstanding movers here. And if you're wondering where I find this flow and post it, you can find that here in Stock Hub here. I post everything in real time. I do not edit my posts at all. Nothing is edited. I do put in notes in here as well with the flow. So we did have some lotto and flyer pieces of flow here, so those kind of keep in mind. Anything, if I ever say it's a lotto play, flyer play there, just kind of keep in mind that it's kind of one of those that you would size for zero more so on there, so I won't spend a lot of time on those. But let's get started here. We're going to start with 615, and we first have up here the 618 C144 calls. These are ones that I spotted on Whale Watch as well here too. So let's go take a peek here at the flow, and we'll take a peek at this here as well too. So starting on 615 here, and I do want to keep the net premiums open just in case we get a good one that has a little spike here. But here is our flow that came in here on 615. You can see we had 1,400 contracts come in there. At the time, it was a clean opener here. We are seeing some kind of volume hitting here after the fact here. These were short dated more so. So I'm looking for kind of a quicker move on something that's short dated there. So this one, and I do put notes in for those that follow along in Stock Hub. I do have notes with every piece of flow that comes in here, so please check out the notes there. But let's take a peek here. So here's our flow. Let's go in and look at the actual raw flow and see how it looked. So again, a good little example here. You get a nice spike in that IV when it comes in. Spot filled at the ask there. Obviously, we don't overlap earnings because they expired this week here. But you see how that IV stays up. Spot fills at the ask that entire time. These looked like a clean buy. These kind of chopped here. They were up slightly that next day, kind of slightly the next session there, but they got their big pop there on Wednesday, and then Thursday was the big pop there. These were green for a couple sessions here, so enough time to get some profits on that, but they hit that high there on expiration day of 390 there for the contract. And what we do too, I look at the full range of the contracts. I know there's people that will hold contracts to expiration, so on, so we just look at the full range. Obviously, the odds of you exiting at the top probably unlikely, but it's just nice to kind of see where you could have improved the trade, so on. But that max return from $1 fill there to 390, 290% there, absolutely amazing move for an intraday trade there, or intra-week there. So let's move on there. That was a good find there. Walmart, the 626, 121 call here. I just want to see the note that I had on this one here. So again, you just see how I have those notes in here. IV rises, the flow comes in, nice spike in the net call premiums. So you can see how it looked in real time when it came in there. And I'm not going to pull that note for every contract there, but here's our flow. You can see the 1,100 contracts coming in there at the time, clean opener. Let's look at our flow here. I think this is one of the better looking ones we had this week as well. So yeah, again, and if you're new to the videos, you'll notice a lot of my flow does kind of match, and you should have rules when you're following flow, and if it doesn't follow your rules or you're kind of questioning things, you don't have to take it. Just there'll be another trade. But good good spike in that IV on these. Spot is filling at the ask here. Just follow this up here. Again, no changes in the IV. Spot fills at the ask that entire time. These look like a buy to open here. These got a little pop here. I want to look at that 7-day too. So 615, look at that net call premium on the day there as well too, just picking up all day on that. But these got a little pop same day there. So again, 167, I mean you hit 229 that same day, and then you got the gap up there. 616 was your high of 330 there. Even trading around 218 there on 617. So again, plenty of time to take profits, and I always tell people just because a whale's still in doesn't mean you need to be in. And this one's a little tougher to see if that whale truly is still in. You see a lot of kind of different transactions coming in here. Hard to monitor the one big whale, especially seeing the bigger volume spikes. But good move on those ones there. So 167 to a high of 312, so 86.83% there. Up next, I have a double Wi-Fi hit here, so this one I will show how I posted here. So these both kind of came in very, very close time-wise again here. I just kind of highlighted the expiration and the contract here. You know, more of an interesting name just with that name up 14% on the day already, but you can see how that flow came in here. Not the best overall fills, but interesting flow more so on those. And we're just going to take a peek here. So there's your Wi-Fi, and this one's a good example of some whales exiting here. So we'll go back to 615. Look at all that volume there. Majority of that carries over. You see that volume on the 16th. A lot of contracts traded. You see a drop in open interest. So this whale was in here and then out here. So clean ask side entry, clean bid side exit here, and that whale got in 228. Looks like they got out about 710. They did miss some move there on Friday. They did hit a high there of 970. So that max return is 325.44%. And again, this is what we do in the videos. I'll show you that max return, you know, the whale, and if that whale exited, we see a clean exit. Maybe they left profits on the table, like this one did leave some profits on the table, but that big max return there of 325%. Whale did get out about 710. Then our other Wi-Fi one, this one was also another cleaner exit, more so on this one too. Again, you can see that volume coming in there on 615. This one you don't get that full open interest carryover, so these are really deep in the money as well too. I don't know what they were sitting at there on 615. Maybe they exercised some contracts, because you're not seeing that a lot of transactions after there, and when you exercise options, it doesn't count as an actual, you know, volume transaction there. But yeah, I mean, they're out now, I would say. I mean, you see a big spike there on 616, so about 5,000 between those two. So there's about 400 contracts kind of missing in here. Maybe they took some out in there. Could make some sense there. But yeah, good move there. I mean, 124, that whale getting out about 545 there, and they did hit their high of 1050 there on Friday. So 746.77% on those. That's that Wi-Fi 618.30 call. All right, up next we have the Poets here, the 724.15.5 call. This one, guys, I'm just trying to see some of the notes. So this one, you know, not the cleanest fills on here. I had lean buys on those with the ascending fill, more of a lotto flyer here. So I'm not going to spend too much time. Again, you can see what I'm talking about with that kind of messier. Oops. No, come back here. You can see what I'm talking about kind of with that messier fills there. I mean, that IV's kind of bouncing around all over the place here. It's just not the cleanest looking flow. They did get a little pop there, 209, and I mean they hit 287 on the day there. So I mean they got a good little pop there, more so. I've got this market 265 is about a 26% gain, but I mean they got a good little pop intraday there, and other than that, I mean, you just kind of look here at that 7-day. just kind of down from there, and I'm not wondering if they're probably short these calls because you did have a big chunk come in there on the 16th and all of that carried over. Could be short the calls, who knows? We'll have to see what happens on that one. But just a small little profit on that one, 26.79%. There was a Microsoft weekly that would have been next in the video here. I don't have that it expired, so I can't pull that one, but that was another kind of lotto play. That's this one you see right here again, IV spikes. It looked like a momentum chaser there. I don't think they saw anything on that one at all there. All right, so let's keep moving on here. So now we have the 618, 114 calls. Again, another one that came in on FOMC day. Again, another momentum chaser. IV rises, the flow comes in, net call premium there. And you can see when I'm talking about a momentum chaser that it's up 4% on the day there. It's short dated. It's a momentum chaser more so on something like that. And this, again, those momentum chasers, I can adjust the notes a little bit there, but you got to kind of be cautious on that. And it looks like this whale got out same day 85, and looks like they got out about 38 there. You see all that volume on the 15th there, and not all of it carried over there. So again, good example here of, if you see this in real time, you're gonna say, oh, they're adding to their position. Just because they're traded at the ask doesn't mean it's an automatic buy there. So you can see that reflected in that open interest change there. So that was one of the losers on the week. Up next, the 717 PG 155 calls. Great move on these here. 205 hitting the high there of 310. Again, trading near 3 for a couple days here. Mid 2s. Good enough to take some profits on something like that. Let's look at our flow. Very good, clean textbook flow here. Again, you see that IV spike when it comes in. Spot is filling at the ask. All spots are filled at the ask. IV's up there. And then here's your big size and big premium. Big spike in that IV. Spot price fills at the ask. There's not an above ask trade. If you see people talking about below bid, above ask, that's not real. There's nothing. It's not real. Just ignore those people. Treat these as fills at the ask, and then if it was below bid, at the bid there. So good move on those there. Again, you just see that spike there, and let's just look at our premiums here. Look at that big spike in net call premium here. This trade was responsible for that alone there, and I believe I noted that as well in here. Textbook flow, Swave's big spike in net call premium. You see at the time here, there's your trade coming in. There's that spike in net call premium. That is what should be grabbing your attention. Good move on those though. Again, 207 to 310, so 49.76%. All right, let's keep going down. Then we have the RIOT 626.28 calls here. This is one of the Anthony flow trades as well too, if you saw that video already, but this flow looked good. IV is rising here, spot price rising. You get another block of trades coming in after. Again, IV spike. Spot price rises. These only hit about 28%. Again, 28% is a solid return. You see a lot of people talking, showing 500, 600% returns. Yes, that's great if it happens. Aiming for the home run will get you hit every single hurt eventually. You have to be smart. You have to adjust up your stops, size out appropriately, be smart with your trades. Don't aim for the moon every single time. Yes, if you have runners that hit a massive return like that, great. But holding just because the whale's still into doesn't always work out either. Again, you need to protect your capital. You need to manage your trade, manage your risk, be smart about it. It's your money. Just because somebody else is in a trade, you truly don't know what these people are doing. Could be part of another bigger trade, even if it doesn't show its multi-leg. This one's just showing its multi-leg on the day there, but at the time this was not multi-leg, and I can just pop this back here and show you there. So at the time, not multi-leg. So here's our flow. Again, kind of choppy there for the same day. A little gap up there. We hit our high there on Wednesday on the 17th, 189. Again, chopping around the 180s there for a couple days. So again, another decent return there. Max return on that, 147 to 189 for 28.57%. Good return on those. Up next, we have the HPE 71050 calls here. These got a decent little pop here. 320 was the opening trade there. They hit a high of on the 17th. They're 380, and actually they hit 4 there on 616, kind of with that spread there. I'm just gonna go with that 380 there just to be a little more fair, because I don't see where it would have hit that. I should have hit that there on the 17th. But let's look at our flow, and let's pop this up here. Again, look at when that flow comes in. Big spike in the net call premium. These got a little gap up there. I mean, even that gap up 320 up to 350, that's a 10% pop there. I mean, that's should throw a stop on it, break even. You can always re-enter a trade if you still like that flow. But good spike in that IV, spot fills at the ask, looks good throughout there. And that high of 380 there, that's 22.19% over 2 days there. And what I like to do, something like this, hey, I'm up 10%, I'll throw a break even on. Maybe I want to secure 10%, something there, and get back in and recycle profits. This one a little tougher to kind of do that on, but some other examples we've had over the couple videos where you see that good discounted entry, and then they pop. Like now, if you were to secure profits here on 617 and you're trading down here at 209, well, if you like the discount here and you waited till, let's just say, Monday, because we have a long weekend here, you get a discount, you get that theta that eats 3 days away from these, you get a decent discount. And if it comes back up, because it's an if, it's not a 100% guarantee that the flow is going to come back up, you got a discount, you secured profits, you're double dipping. So, but good move on those. Again, 311 and 380 for 22.19%. Target, this is one of the Anthony flow trades as well too. Still some time on these, 21 days. Haven't really seen too much on those. 196, they're trading about 112 there. So if that whale's truly bullish on those, they're down about 42% on those. And again, you just see this flow here. And this is one that I actually took this week too. But IV's up, spots filling at the ask. We'll have to see what happens there. And all right, let's keep trucking along here. The SMCI 724.32 calls. This will have to be a wait on Monday and kind of see what happens here. Looks like they might be out at break even, or they're doubling down here. We don't know until that open interest updates here, but you can see at the time all that volume from the 16th, most of that carried over. We see a big volume here at 57.64. I have this one marked at break even. They came back just very slightly green, but I have it marked as a break even because I want to see what this candle does here. Still some time on these overall, but again, they got a little dip there, and then they came back on Thursday. So I'm looking for that open interest to either increase, which would mean this whale added to their position. So you see that increase by, roughly 5,000 or so. Decrease by roughly 5,000 or so. Or, slightly change, not a significant change, which would tell me these contracts are changing hands there. So good example to kind of come back to and see what happens with that one. But that one I have marked down at break even. CRWV, we have the 724.75 puts here. We'll have to see what happens with this one here. Here is our flow. Looked interesting, a little further out of the money, but CRWV does move a little bit here. These coming in at 103, closing at 96 today. I mean, they're down 4% there. Have to see what happens. Plenty of time on those. Geo, the 717.29 calls. This is one of the trades I took this week as well. Great move on this one here. Very clean opener here. Very clean looking flow as well. Let's just look here again. Big spike in the net call premium. This trade was responsible for that. You see that IV spike when it comes in. Spots filling up the ask. IV drops a little bit, but it recovers. Spot price increases. These look like a buy to open, and we got a rocket there into the next day. Hitting a high of 209, so 138 to 209, 51.45%. still trading, around 182. And again, just because that whale's still in doesn't necessarily mean you need to be in. I don't care if there's 28 days on these, 60 days, 70 days. If you're in profit, take profit. You never know what can happen in this market. But good move on those there. So let's keep on trucking along here. CXW, this was another good mover on the week here. And let me just, for everybody following along, again, you can just see where here's the RIOTs, here's the HPEs, Target, SMCI, CoreWeave, Geo. Again, no edits on any of my posts. Everything is posted real time. I do not edit anything. That beats transparency. So next we're on the CXW. So I just want to look at this one real time again. I have it marked as that IV rises, flow comes in, ascending fill, net call premium spike. Again, you see that spike there when that flow comes in. Let's move over here again. Good move on those 127, and they closed near the high there. I mean, they did close at the high there, the max return of 264. So 130 to 264, these are up 103.8%. Again, if I'm in something like this, I am taking profits over the weekend. You don't know what can happen over the weekend. They're 3% in the money. Great move on those here. And again, there's your spike in that call premium when it came in. Let's look at our flow here. So this coming in 2 block trades here. So again, looking at that IV spike when it comes in, spot price rising. These look good. Obviously, phenomenal move on those. All right. So SpaceX, we had one SpaceX this week, and I just want to kind of show everybody how I laid that out here. So, IV rises as the flow comes in, it's net put premium spiking. It's a very high IV on these, so using a lot of caution on these here. I mean, you see how high that IV is. SpaceX just IPO'd on Friday. Tuesday was the first day of options, so again, almost more of a lotto flyer position on something like that. But and you can even see, I mean, SpaceX was down 10% at one point on Thursday there, and these contracts with the IV being so high there, I mean, they barely got back to break even. I mean, they slightly went over there. I mean, I have it marked as break even on there because I hit 1285, but very long dated on these here too, so still got some time on those. SLB, this was another, short dated, would treat as a lotto flyer here. Smaller little whale there. And again, when I say lotto flyer, it's kind of a size for zero there, just because they were very short dated, and yeah, you can see they expired worthless there. Meta, this was another one that came in Wednesday right before FOMC. Again, another lotto flyer here. Just kind of the way this hit the tape there. I mean, see all the ask side hits. This whale did get out that same day, so I'm guessing they were looking for a pop there on Meta, and you can see all that volume. Barely any of that carried over there. VG, this is one kind of still TBD on this. 28 days left. Came in at 43. They're trading about 34 cents right now. 34 cents or so. So they're down about 18% or so on those. About 20%. 28 days. So see what happens there. But these look pretty good here. Have to see what happens there. I mean, again, IV rising here, so you do get that IV kind of drop a little bit here. Rises a little bit there at the end, but then here's your big size and premium, so and your IV pop. So those look interesting here. Again, note, so that spike. So again, you can see the notes in here, and again, I attached the tape as well too on some of the more interesting ones, but a little interesting there to see what happens with that one over time. Let's keep going here. VG WULF. Okay, I was like, I'm trying to find where we are next. WULF. These came in FOMC towards the end of the day. Clean opener. IV kind of slightly drops on 3 contracts, but we pop back up here. Then here's your big spike in that IV here on that size and premium. It is an ascending fill. Definitely an opener here. You see that 617. Definitely a clean volume, greater than open interest there all at once. Opening trade, most of that carried over. These hit a high of 525 here yesterday, so just slightly over 10%. 477 to that 525, just 10.06%. They're closing up their 487, so they are still slightly green on those with a lot of time on them. Verizon, the 731.46 calls here. This one, gotta see what I put for the note on that. So it was a big block trade. There wasn't much to analyze on this flow, and I'll show you what I mean by that here. So that first trade of the day here. So let me just kind of come down here. Let's put the results out. So when I'm saying it's a big block trade, we'll go over a page here. That 9,000, you see that 9,000 size there, 9,000 volume. This is the first trade on the day. I don't have a ton of context to look off of. This is how it looked when it actually hit the feed there. I can't see how that IV is reacting to the flow, so on and all that, because I don't have anything prior to this. But pretty wide bid-ask spread there on something like that, so it's a little unusual. They do overlap earnings, and I believe no, but so okay, yeah, they overlap earnings, so I have to see what happens with that one there. Yeah, they're down right now a little bit, trading at about 120. So down 32% on those 42 days. Have to see what happens. Oracle, the 724 190 calls. These made a good intraday move yesterday. Taking a peek here again. IV's up. Spot price fills at the ask here. Let's just remove that time filter. Here and take a peek. Again, here's when that flow starts coming in. You get a good IV spike here. Spot fills at the ask. Looks clean. These moved from 910 to a high of 1120 on the day. So again, 23.21%. BFLY, the 821.10 calls. This was more of a lotto play as well too. Just because, it was up 31% on the day when that came in. But yeah, you see that net call premium spike when these came in too. That's always interesting. I'm not a big fan of chasing something that's up 30% on the day, but man, these coming in at 67 cents there. I got it marked at 67, hitting a high of 146. I mean, closing near the high there. 117.91% intraday move on that. Can't argue with that. Good move there. This looks like it could possibly be some excess here. I mean, you got 4,300 there, plus, the 1,000 there, so we're going to say 53. Here's 31 plus 2, very, very similar here again, just because it's at the ask doesn't mean it's a double dip here. Double check that open interest on Monday and see what happens with that. And last but not least, we have the 717 ALLT 8 call. Have to see what happens with this one. We got some good hits in here. They closed at break even. Good little pop in the stock there. Kind of a smaller price name there. But flow looked good when it came in. Again, you get that ascending fill. Spot price rising. Looks good. We'll have to see what happens with that. But other than that, that is all I have for the notable flow alerts recap there. Again, if you're looking for those, you can find those in that notable flow alerts channel here. Everything's posted in real time. Nothing's edited. This is the closest you'll see to anything being an edit like that. And if you'd like to join Stock Hub and get access to the alerts, feel free to check out the description. If you'd like to try unusual whales and get access to this data, I have a 10% off discount in the description as well. Other than that, enjoy the long weekend, everybody, and we will be back next week.